Treyarch just dropped the patch notes for Season 4 of Black Ops 6 Zombies, and we've got a lot to break down, including exclusive details from Treyarch themselves as I was part of a creator call, including new details on grief, significant changes to certain pack-a-punched weapons, and so much more, so let's dive right in. Alright, let's just jump straight into the patch notes because there are quite a few things that are changing, some very exciting stuff, but there's also some new exclusive details that I got from Treyarch as I was part of a Season 4 creator call just a few hours ago with some intel, some questions that we got to ask, and I'll be sharing that all with you guys in this video. So let's just kick things straight off. The big content update coming tomorrow, of course, is the return of grief, and Treyarch officially confirmed, if there was any doubt, this is a permanent mode. It's not an LTM, it's not going anywhere, it's staying in the game forever, which is really, really exciting. They mentioned that they've been wanting to bring this game mode back for several years, but they felt with the sort of faction that we now have in the storyline between Richtofen and SAM, there's clearly like a divide in who you're going to choose to side with. It made narrative sense to finally bring grief back and introduce it in that slice by having those two teams, which is really cool. And on the call we had Kevin Drew as well as Gavin Locke, who has worked on Zombies all the way back since Nacta and Total in some capacities, working with Kevin on certain grief maps like Mob of the Dead, and he's worked on Zombies for a long time, and he was the head of all the LTMs that we're getting this year, so we seemed very excited to bring back grief. So that's really, really exciting. And if you don't know, grief is a 4v4 game mode where you sort of grief the other team, and whichever team is remaining at the end when all other players are downed, that team wins. But there is one big caveat that was confirmed on the call, and this is puzzling in my opinion, and kind of will make or break this game mode depending on how many friends you have. But it's a 4v4 game mode, but according to what we were told, you can only play this mode with up to 4 friends. So if you want to play against 8 in total, so 4 friends on your team versus 4 friends on the other team, that apparently will not be possible. The only way you can play this is well up to a lobby of 4 players who will then have to publicly matchmake to find the other team of 4 players to make your 4v4 game of grief. I really hope we've misunderstood that, but from the wording, the way they sounded it, the way the question was asked about queuing up for matchmaking, they said you can only be in a lobby of 4 and then you search for a game of grief and get paired with another random team of 4 players. So let me know your thoughts about that one in the comments. But outside of the grief mode, what else is changing in Black Ops 6 Zombies with Season 4? Well, we know that in the season we're going to be getting some LTMs, and we're getting 2. One's a starting room and the other is an abomination challenge. Treyarch confirmed that the starting room and the wording in the blog where it said starting zone was incorrect. In the wording in that all doors in the first zone would be open, that's not the case. It's literally just going to be the starting room. So that's really, really cool. And then with the in-game events coming, there is like King of the Dead and then another Master of Grief where there's going to be like a leaderboard where you're going to be sort of ranked based on how well you perform. And they mentioned that the top 25 will get a certain reward, but then there's also more rewards for top 10, top 5, and of course, whoever gets that #1 spot. I inquired what the rewards would be because they seemed very cryptic about it. And I addressed that a lot of the community are very fatigued with the idea of just getting GobbleGum sets as rewards. And they said it was really good feedback. They couldn't answer what the rewards were, which is a little bit weird. But hopefully they'll take that on board and the rewards for the later events with the leaderboards will be, you know, substantial and worthwhile. Outside of all of that, the main gameplay changes for Season 4 is that there are going to be quite a few weapons which are now going to be a lot more viable after round 30, which is a really big thing. And specifically, this is adjustments to pistols and marksman rifles. So looking at the blog post, we can see there are 3 specific pistols that are getting major pack-a-punch buffs. The first is the Strider 22, which is going to have increased pack-a-punch damage by 100%. It's going to have 80 more bullets overall, and they've reduced the penetration damage drop-off by 40%. This is already one of the best pistols besides the obvious, so I'm really happy to see this. The 9mm also had increased pack-a-punch damage, increased damage range pack-a-punch, additional ammo, and that penetration damage fall off by 40%. They add that if you have the FMJ attachment, that fall off is going to be even less. So very, very interesting. And then finally, the Grekhova has had a increase in damage by 150%. but its damage range has been reduced by 30%. And on marksman rifles, the Sarkov 762, DM10, and TR2 have all got on major buffs, where the Pack-a-Punch critical damage has been increased by 50 and 60%, and the TR2 has had its increased damage overall by 40, and its critical damage by 90. So both the Grekhova and the TR2 should feel a lot stronger. Some of these guns were already amazing in certain boss fights. It will be very interesting to see how much better they are in both normal general gameplay as well as in boss fights. And the rest of the season is more or less just a bunch of like fixes and various stability improvements, but there were some pretty big problems with Season 3 Reloaded, which Treyarch have thankfully addressed. And the main one is that the mystery box was just straight up broken. Like, I thought I was losing my mind hitting this box constantly and getting nothing but Tanto 22s. That was not something that was supposed to happen. So they finally fixed the mystery box here with Season 4. What is a W is that they've increased the weight for seasonal weapons in the mystery box, meaning it should be more likely that you'll get brand new weapons added like Season 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the mystery box over just getting launch weapons more than seasonal. So that's really good if you're trying to do box addict or anything like that. They've also randomly buffed quite a few equipment items in Zombies. I didn't feel they were too weak, but perhaps you guys may disagree. So they have buffed the C4, where the minimum damage is increased to 70 and the max damage increased to 250. The frag has had its mid damage increased to 150, and then Semtech's inner damage has been increased to 250. So they should be a lot stronger to much higher rounds, which is a really good thing. Then there are some fixes to the Ether Shroud and Dark Flare field upgrade. I didn't realize there were any problems with these two field upgrades, but alas, they have been fixed and you can see the changes here. Then for support streaks, they've increased the ammo in the death machine to 350, which I think is really good. And then there's some fixes for the mutant injection, the war machine, as well as the mangler cannon. They've also addressed some issues with GobbleGums, specifically ones where if you had a death machine or war machine, that could affect the support group GobbleGum. Anywhere but here, GobbleGum having some weird disallowments, and the timeout GobbleGum causing zombies to not spawn if the player that popped it left the match. Then there's a ton of UI fixes, a bunch of graphical and stability fixes, and that's pretty much it on patch notes, but we're not done when it comes to the creator call. Because if we circle back to grief, there were a few issues that I had that I also saw a lot of people in the community have when it comes to the balance of grief, because there's certain GobbleGums that they've restricted, which I think is a good thing, but then there's some more sort of OP GobbleGums like Perkaholic, for an example, which they haven't restricted. And I asked, why was that? And do they think that they need to? Like, where's their data at to support restricting those GobbleGums, but not Perkaholic? And they said that they're literally just going to watch and see the data and analyze it there if Perkaholic is breaking grief or not. Because in my opinion, I don't think you should have Perkaholic in there full stop. Like, you need to earn your perks. Some of the maps lock down to where you can't physically go to parts of the map to get all the perks. So Perkaholic would be the only way to get all the perks. And I feel like it's pretty broken. But they said if the data says that they see a lot of people winning grief games just from solely using Perkaholic, then they're probably going to look to restrict it. But then they did counter it by saying that some other OP GobbleGums like Hidden Power, Raindrops as an example, if there's a grief that gets put on the opposing team where it's weapon roulette, if you upgraded a weapon to the highest rarity, you'll lose that weapon because you're going to be constantly rouletting through guns, which sort of balances it out a bit. It's sort of like, hey, you used that and risked it, and lo and behold, now you've wasted it because now you've lost it. So I guess it's kind of that as well. And also with like Raindrops as another example that they said that when it's popped, anyone in the game can pick those power-ups up, and those power-ups are global in the game. So they will affect both teams rather than it being solely just one team that gets the benefits of an insta-kill as an example. And another really good question from DK Dynamite was on the topic of wonder weapons, like, why are we not seeing wonder weapons in grief? Because I've seen some great arguments on Twitter that suggest that, you know, imagine having the swords from Citadel Daymore being able to like melee the opposite team. Like, this would be fantastic. And they basically said it comes down to balance, where if one player has a wonder weapon and the other 7 don't, they're going to be just taking all of the zombie kills and it's going to be extremely imbalanced. However, they're going to be watching to see how they can implement wonder weapons in grief in the future. And they said that, you know, watch this space. There could be some LTMs with grief in the future that might incorporate wonder weapons. So that's kind of a positive answer there. And another issue players thought of with grief is field upgrades like Healing Aura being so OP in grief. Like, have they considered that? You know, you could just revive the whole team. Like, how busted is that? And they said that the field upgrade charge rate has been adjusted for grief. So you'll be earning the field upgrades a little bit slower. And once you have used one, it's going to take a while for you to get that field upgrade back, because they spoke about how with the modern systems of Black Ops 6 Zombies, you know, you've got field upgrades like Group Ether Shroud, where if you're doing like an objective, you could use group Ether Shroud and suddenly all the zombies are going to be aggro to go to the other team. You're going to be completely protected. And that's like a very interesting dynamic, which didn't exist in the original Grief. So it's very interesting to see. But it was interesting the fact that they had Gavin, who is in charge of all the LTMs this year for Black Ops 6 Zombies. Obviously, I'm sure he's heard all the feedback and criticism from the very first LTMs of Jingle Hells, Squid Game, then leading all the way up to where we are now. They're definitely improving, and they're definitely open to hearing feedback and suggestions. But when it comes to like the rewards, which I made a big deal out of when it comes to the LTMs coming mid-season for that leaderboard, I mentioned that, you know, rewards like camos and blueprints, like what we saw with Modern Warfare Zombies, was really cool because it actually made players that didn't necessarily play zombies go over and try out that new content to unlock those new rewards because they were really sought after. And they said that they planned these so far in advance that, you know, it'd be impossible for them to suddenly add this in now. They, I guess, didn't have the idea for that all the way back when they conceptualized the idea in the events, whatever. But they've noted it for feedback in the future. So I guess that is a very good sign that, you know, if you are disappointed about just getting GobbleGum sets only from these events, that in the future, Treyarch might be changing that, which is a very, very good thing. That just rounds up everything for Black Ops 6 Zombies Season 4 regards to patch notes and changes and other little secret bits of intel that I managed to get from Treyarch on that creator call. I'll be streaming Grief tomorrow the moment it goes live, so be sure to check out the live stream for all the fun to see just how good Grief is in Black Ops 6. I'm also be checking out the new weapons in the Battle Pass and testing all those out, so plenty of videos coming out over the next few days, checking out all the new content in Season 4, so I hope I can see you there. But if you enjoyed the video, drop a thumbs up before you leave. I'd really appreciate that. And stay tuned and updated with everything Black Ops 6 Zombies. Just make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's free, only takes a second, and I would really, really appreciate it. But thank you for watching. Hopefully I'll see you for some live Grief tomorrow. Take care. I'll see you then.